Hi, hello, good evening everyone. Welcome to this new course called as Important Reports and Indexes for UPSC Prelims 2021. So this is Nishan Jumuddin, your educator in Academy, an expert in Indian economy, current affairs and MCQs. So yes, good evening Sindhuja. Hi Neeraj. Yes Avi, hi Amanda, yes Ananya, good evening all of you. So all ready? So yes. So here we go, my young officers. Today in this particular live session, we'll be discussing the most important reports and indexes pertaining to your economy syllabus with regard to the UPSC CSE examination. So we know that reports and indexes, as far as prelims is concerned, it is quite one of the most important topics, right? So now we'll be quickly doing a 360-degree coverage of this particular topic, and all the handy notes for your quick revision will also be given to you. So the topic of discussion as far as today's topic is concerned, in the short 30 minutes video, what we'll be doing is quickly we'll have a look into the four important indexes. One is the ease of doing business report. Second, corruption perception index. Third is global livability index, and then you have something called as global innovation index. So these are the four different indexes which will be discussed in a crystal clear manner. So the method in which we'll be discussing is very simple. Why this particular index was put forward, which organization, which year, and what is the global ranking, and what about the position of our country India. If it is good, okay, what are the reasons supporting that? If it is bad or if it is in the medium category, what are the reasons for that again, and what can we do to improve it? So these are the most important keywords which you should keep in mind whenever you study a report or indexes. And the most important authenticated sources which I would prefer you people is none other than the PIB, that is Press Information Bureau, to study reports and indexes. Clear? They are highly, the most authenticated and reliable source. Fine? Yes, Shankar? Perfect. So yes, before that guys, you can just quickly have a look into my profile, and also below the description box of this particular video, you have the link of my Unacademy profile, and also you have the link of my free special live class. And apart from that, in the same YouTube channel, that is Articulate, you have the fundamentals of economy, yes Amanda, happening at 7 to 7:30 p.m. daily, and another short session for just 10 minutes called as Economy Booster Series, which happens from 8 p.m. to 8:10 p.m. And this particular session, which is a live class exclusively on index and reports, will happen today, Thursday and Saturday sharp at 9:30 p.m. Clear? Apart from that, you can just go through my other plus courses. You have an NCERT course, then you have a weekend batch course and all. So whether to be a part of the plus or the free class, keep one thing in mind. Nisha IAS Live. I repeat, Nisha IAS Live is the code that will take you to the plus class with n number of discounts, and at the same time to watch the free class and download the PDF, again the same code. So just keep this in mind. Clear? Any doubts, any queries, whatever you have, feel free to get in touch with me via the various platforms. Okay? And here it is. That is a Telegram guys, Nishan Jumuddin for UPSC, and also via Unacademy profile. Don't forget to follow me here. So all ready? Yes, Neha. Yes, Neeraj. Where are the others? Let me see the thumbs ups out there. And here we go. The most important discussion with regard to the reports and indexes which you shouldn't miss with regard to your UPSC CSE preparation is the very first one is with regard to what? The ease of doing business index, or let's say the ease of doing business report. This is indeed one of the most important index that you should study. But that doesn't mean that you'll be studying everything as such. The most important points which is required for you with regard to the upcoming prelims and mains. Clear? So now, it is released by whom guys? What you do right now is take a piece of paper or a book and write it. Ease of Doing Business Report, published by World Bank. Rank of India and global ranking. That's enough. So now it is World Bank, okay? So you will not get confused, which is the organization that is publishing this report. And with regard to report and indexes, one simple thing which I want to tell you is, see, as far as prelims is concerned, an index will be published by an authenticated organizations like World Bank, World Economic Forum, and most of the indexes with regard to a country India is being published by Niti Aayog, the independent think tank, okay? But with regard to report, it is not necessary that, only a World Bank or Economic Forum should publish. Even an NGO or an institute or a group they can literally publish a report. So that is one important keyword or trick which you should keep in mind while doing your prelims questions with regard to index and report. So many a times people tend to get confused with regarding the same as well. Clear? Okay. So now, if you see recently the World Bank, they released the ease of doing business report, of 2020, and now they measure the ease of doing business report in 10 different dimensions. Okay, and that was in the 12-month period, which is ending on May 1, 2019. So let us quickly have a look into what are those indexes. Before that, what is the rank of a country, India, in the ease of doing business report, which means the comfort of our economy with regard to the economic, social, environmental, political, other factors. If you see a country, India, yeah, we are not that good, but still we rank 63, I can tell you. Out of 190 countries, we rank 63 with regard to ease of doing business index. And over the years, if you do a comparison with regard to the year 2018 and 19, yeah, we have improved also, I can tell you that. Which means that it was, 77 in the year 2018, but now we have become 63rd. So in the years to come, you have to increase this rank, or let's say we have to improve the position with regard to 50, 45, 30 and so on like that. That is why we are working on various perspectives. But globally, if you see, okay, you can see that these Scandinavian countries, come on, they rank number 1. It is New Zealand that rank number 1 with regard to what? The ease of doing business report. See, it is not only with regard to ease of doing business report. Even if you see with regard to your human development index, with regard to so many other development indices, many a times all your Scandinavian countries like Norway, Finland, all these countries pop up. In this case also the same thing. The one reason behind that is population. That is, when the number of population is quite less, automatically things work better. That is a greater advantage, I can tell you. Whereas if you see the country that ranks the worst or the last, that is the 190th position, is Somalia. And we know normally these African countries, they do not perform that well. Clear? So I've taught you the, global positions, the first and the last positions, and also with regard to country India, which is indeed very, very important. Clear? So we are in the improving track. Don't you think so? Yes, indeed. It is very important for you to know that as well. Now, over the years, if you see, from 77th position, we became 63rd position with regard to ease of doing business report. And with regard to the scoring also, yes, we have improved from 71.0 to 67.23 score. And which are the areas that we improved, guys? Out of 10 different dimensions or indicators, for the third consecutive, or let's say the continuous year, we improved in a factor called as business climate. Come on, that is one single factor which enabled a country, India, to shine like anything, I can tell you. Clear? Now, basically 4 parameters. Literally, we showed tremendous progress, our country, India. One is starting a business. That is, our country, India, was showing a huge scope with regard to starting a business. You can connect this to your MSME, micro, small, medium enterprises. And you can also connect this with regard to your issues of unemployment. So due to which people go and start their own enterprises where self-employment is coming up. So for that, you need to have a good environment. Don't you think so? So that is indeed there in our country, India, I can say. Clear? Then dealing with constructive permit, resolving insolvency and trading across borders. All these parameters we could shine like anything, I can say. For example, you are building a warehouse, okay, and the cost is around 4% of the warehouse value compared to the 5.7% previous year. So all these kind of stuffs, we are having a greater advantage which enabled the country India to do great with regard to the so-called report, that is ease of doing business report. Clear? Perfect. Now, with regard to resolving insolvency, it is also one important thing to note. Over the years, we have been able to do great with regard to resolving all the disputes and settling them and making sure that the insolvency is being settled. That is from 26.5 to 71.6%. We have improved significantly, guys, with regard to the recovery rate under the so-called resolving insolvency. Clear? Yes, Sindhuja. Yes, Neeraj. Yes, Amanda. Okay. So now the next is trading across barriers. That is, we are able to upgrade with regard to port infrastructure, import and export process. It's quite easier for us. So when export and import is doing great, and when we are focusing on the factor called export, automatically we'll be able to earn in terms of what? Foreign exchange. That is indeed one of the most important factor which is required for any country to grow. As far as the country India is concerned, the more of export, the more of forex or foreign exchange. And when you limit the import, because you end up paying more, when you limit that, automatically your domestic economy, the production starts to a greater extent. Don't you think so? Yes. Is it very clear? So these are the 4 parameters in which we did brilliantly great, guys, with regard to the ease of doing business report. That is why we have been able to improve our position from 77 in the year 2018 to 63rd in the year 2020. Clear? Yes, Pratosh? Perfect. Now, a little of additional, let's say, extra information, guys, which you should know. That is a quick look into the static portion of this index. Do you think this is a new index? Definitely no. The World Bank has released the so-called report called as Ease of Doing Report, okay, since 2003. Just because they want to provide a very good assessment of objective measures of all the business rules and regulations. And the enforcement was put forward across how many economies? 190. And that was based on 10 different parameters. Out of 10 different parameters, in 4 different parameters, we did brilliantly great. Out of that, for the 3 consecutive or continuous year, business climate was one such indicator which our country India always ranked number 1. Clear? So apart from all the 4 things, you can just go through the other perspective. That is availability of money or credit, property registrations. That is also one of the indicator. Then paying taxes, contract enforcement, resolving insolvency. All these things are indeed taken into consideration when you're publishing a report called as Ease of Doing Business report. Ease means what? The comfort. So what is the comfortability that our country India is having with regard to promoting a business or a startup? That is what this particular report index is all about. That will make us understand the rank of a country in all these parameters. Clear? Perfect. So now, currently in the year 2020, what are the additional points that you noted? If you see, this time 2 more parameters. Apart from business climate, I can tell you that employing workers and contracting with the government. Okay, these 2 are also included, guys, in the current Ease of Doing Business report, but they're not included in the score and ranking, which means that 10 parameters and indicators are standard ones as per the textbook data. But apart from that, the current affairs perspective is employing workers and contracting with government. They are also included, but for ranking they are excluded. So please keep this in mind. Yes, Payal? Tell me. Perfect. Now, there is something called as DTF. What is DTF, by the way? It is distance to frontier score. And based on that only, the Ease of Doing Business report has been ranked by World Bank. Because that is highlighting the gap that an economy is having with respect to the so-called world or global practice, I can say. For example, you have a score of 75. The meaning of that is the economy was 25% points away from the frontier, which was showing a better performance. Clear? So all these are not that required for you, but I'm just giving you some additional information because this is a very, very important report. Now, moving on to another important index of the day, which is none other than Corruption Perception Index 2020. Now, this is not published by World Bank or Economic Forum or any of the organizations. Rather, there is a Transparency International, an organization called as Transparency International. They are the ones who actually release an index called as Corruption Perception Index. So corruption is what? The kind of kallattarams or the so-called fraud that is happening, right? So some organization which is literally transparent should actually find all those things. So you can keep that simple logic in mind and you can understand that Transparency International is an organization that is actually publishing the index called as Corruption Perception Index. And they rank 180 countries. But if you see, over the years, instead of improving the rank, we have literally slipped 6 places, which means that in the year 2019, we were far, far better, which means we were in the 80th position. Instead of becoming 75 or let's say 70, what happened to country India today? As far as the 2020 data, 6 positions we slipped, which means today we are in the 86th rank with regard to this particular index. What is the meaning of this? It is indicating that the level of corruption is increasing. It is not decreasing. So a lot more has to be done. Don't you think so? So now how do you actually rank the countries, guys? All the 180 countries which are actually ranked by the so-called Corruption Perception Index, they are they are done by the perceived level of public sector corruption, and that has been done as per the various experts in this particular field and also the business people. So basically what they do is to measure the corruption perception index, they'll use a scale of 0 to 100. And if somebody is coming, or let's say if any country is coming in the category of 0, means it is said that that country is highly corrupted one. And if any country is coming in the rank of 100, means come on, they are very clean, which means that not even a 0.1% of corruption you can find in that particular country. Clear? So do you think is there any country that comes in the 100 perspective? Is it so? Do you think any country that comes like that? And we are in the rank of, let's say, 86 today, which means we cannot say that we are in the medium position. Rather, we are having too much of corruption that is involved with regard to money laundering, with regard to other funding perspective, other activities and all. Clear? Now, the corruption perception index called as CPI, literally they shows, or let's say paint a grim picture of the state of corruption worldwide. And a lot of countries, including India, they have made a very little, or let's say no progress at all in tackling what the corruption in nearly a period of 10 years or decade. And if you see more than 2/3 of country, oh my goodness, the score is below 50. And the average score is just 43. And what about India? Again, we have slipped 6 more positions in the current year, putting us in more danger, I can tell you. And now one more thing, the so-called corruption in the current affairs perspective, I can tell you that not only it undermines what? Not only it undermines the global health response to COVID-19, but then they contribute to the so-called continuing crisis of what? The democracy as well. So now this corruption is one such factor which is actually causing a lot of threat with regard to the governance, with regard to development, with regard to so many other parameters. It has to be wiped out like anything, right? So what about the top performers? We can't say that the countries are doing that bad. Again, if you see the Scandinavian countries, they are doing great with regard to corruption perception index. The top 10 countries with regard to the CPI is Denmark and New Zealand. They rank number 1 and their score is 88, followed by the next Scandinavian countries, Singapore, Finland, Sweden, Switzerland. All these together is holding the second position. So Denmark and New Zealand together they have the first position, whereas Finland, Singapore, Sweden and Switzerland, you can just see guys, all these 4 countries together they hold the second position with regard to the corruption perception index 2020. Clear? Yes, Sindhuja, the red is not visible for you properly. Okay, from tomorrow I'll change red to yellow. Okay, do not worry. Now, what about the poor performers? Which countries do you think will be the worst with regard to the corruption perception index? Again, your South Sudan. Okay, they are the countries which perform the worst, and also Somalia. So Somalia was common in the previous index or report we discussed called as ease of doing business report. Remember? The same thing you can just apply it here. So even in the context of corruption perception index, yeah, Somalia is doing very bad, I can tell you. Followed by Syria, Yemen and Venezuela, just for you to know guys. Now with regard to regional specific data, I can tell you the highest scoring region is put up in the Western Europe and the European Union. And they have an average score of, let's say, 66. What about the lowest one? Again, the African countries do come. Like your Sub-Saharan Africa, then the Eastern Europe and Central Asia. And in Central Asia comes, so many countries which are our neighbors as well. And even a country, India, we have to improve a lot. Though we are not the least performing countries also, more or less our score is slipping to the higher numbers. We have to take strict measures and actions to ensure that we are reducing the rank and not increasing the rank, thereby putting us in more trouble. That is what even Transparency International, which publishes or releases the Corruption Perception Index 2020 is talking also. You see, in the year 2020, what is the score of our country? India is 40. Whereas in the year 2019, it was 41. So we are experiencing a slow progress, I can tell you, in all the anti-corruption efforts taken by us. But then a load of continuous efforts by the government is again required to ensure that we are able to slowly eradicate or reduce the rate of such kind of corruption perspective. So what you can do for this? Since the country, since our country India has slipped 5 positions, okay, ahead from 80 to 86, the rank has become. It is high time that we are doing something in order to ensure that so-called corruption perception index is not happening anymore. That is, the rank is not increasing anymore. One is strengthen oversight institutions, which means that through this, you'll be able to reach those most in need, and all the authorities who are dealing with the anti-corruption perspectives, They must have sufficient resources, and they should have sufficient resources, and they should be able to perform their duties independently without any disruptions and without any strict rules and regulations imposed by some other authority. They should be free enough and flexible enough to take actions and policies and put forward policies then and there. Next is ensure open and transparent contracting. Because if you are able to do that, when things become more transparent and more structurized, automatically you'll be able to reduce or combat wrongdoing, identify the violence or conflicts of interest, and thereby ensure fair pricing. That is one another recommendation. Next is defend democracy, promote civil space. This is basically by enabling all your civil society groups and media. So they make sure that the government is accountable. They cannot just do whatever they want. The so-called black money, the so-called parallel economy, all these things, and to make all these things are will be noticed or monitored like anything, and the government will be highly accountable. So these kind of things can also be done as recommendations to actually improve the corruption perception index of our country, India. And next is publish all the important relevant statistical data and guarantee proper access to information. So then we'll be able to ensure the public grievances very easily. Make sure that all the data is available on a timely manner, and also they are literally having a meaningful information as well. So now, apart from this, some of the important additional information with regard to the so-called corruption perception indexes. I told you it is released by whom? It is released or published by Transparency International. What are they? Of course, they are international organizations, but they are an NGO. They are not a public or private, but rather they are an NGO. And since 93 it was put forward, and they are based in Berlin, Germany. Clear? So since then we have the so-called corruption perception index, guys. And it is non-profit purpose. Its non-profit purpose is why they are an NGO? Because they want to take action in order to ensure that they are reducing or compacting global corruption. And also they want to make sure that all the anti-corruption measures are taken. So then they'll be able to prevent the criminal activities which will start from corruptions. Clear? And one more important point to be noted is that, its most notable publications include the Global Corruption Barometer. That is the Transparency International. Apart from Corruption Perception Index, guys, they also have some other publications. One is Global Corruption Barometer, and second is the Corruption Perception Index. Clear? So keep this also in mind. Now, we are done with the second index. It's time for us to move to the third index of the day, which is none other than the Global Livability Index. What is that actually? It talks about the livable perspective, how comfortable we are in living in an environment with regard to different country perspective. So global means for the entire globe. So this so-called Global Livability Index is put forward by EIU. What is that? Economist Intelligence Unit. Okay, so recently for the 2021, the very recent data, guys, you will be getting with regard to the Global Livability Index, which is published by or released by Economist Intelligence Unit. And what do they do basically? This index, they'll start assessing or estimating the locations which provide the best and the worst living conditions. Which are these cities or areas which gives you all the beneficial amenities with regard to leading a comfortable life, and also the ulta perspective. The worst places, the worst living conditions, they'll actually, start measuring them around the globe. Okay. So around 140 cities in the entire world, they calculate with regard to the Global Livability Index. And again, they use so many parameters. Indeed, it is not 10 or 20, but rather how many? It is 30 qualitative and quantitative parameters, I can tell you. They take into consideration. And again, these quantitative and qualitative, they are spanning in 5 broad categories. Like stability, healthcare, culture, education, environment, infrastructure. Don't you think so? All these are important. Both the economic and social indicators, along with the environmental perspective, is taken into consideration while you measure the Global Livability Index. Just by having a good education and just by having a good health facility doesn't mean that the livable condition of that particular city is good. It is about the proper environmental facility as well, to make sure that there is less of pollution, there is not much of degradation of environment. All these are also important, right? Because all these 3 indicators are highly connected. That is your economic, social, and also the environmental. And the COVID-19 pandemic has literally proved us, yes, environment is also very, very important for growth and development. Yes, Priya Bhagat, what is it? Safety? Indeed, safety is very important, Priya. How come we say safety is not there? If you see, with regard to the female safety again, That is also one of the conditions which ensures that, yeah, this particular city is safe to live in. If you see in our country, India today, Chennai, from Tamil Nadu, Chennai is one of the safest cities for females, I can tell you. In one of the 6 p.m. classes in Unacademy platform, in an MCQ, I have taught you this as well. And the worst city also I have taught you. So you can just go through all those. Now, apart from that, another important, current affairs additional information which you should know is, though I told you that, chalo, you do have 30 qualitative and quantitative factors to measure the so-called index, that is Global Livability Index. Apart from that, if you see, 2 more indicators are added. What are they? And that is because of the so-called ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, because of which the Economist Intelligence Unit, they added 2 more extra indicators to measure the Global Livability Index. One is, a lot of stress has been given on healthcare resources, as well as restrictions around local sporting events, theatres, music concerts, restaurants and schools. Clear? And now again, every city, the 140 city that is coming under the so-called index, Global Livability Index, they'll rank in a scale of 1 to 100. So now, each factor in a city is rated with regard to education, with regard to health, with regard to the other perspective, safety, with regard to the infrastructure. Sab kuch is rated as acceptable, tolerable, uncomfortable, undesirable or intolerable. This is the way they actually do it. Clear? They also do a factor-wise scoring. Okay, what they do is they'll factor-wise, they'll say, okay, infrastructure, this city is ranking number 1. Safety, Chennai is ranking number 1. With regard to environment, Kolkata is ranking number 1. For example, I'm telling you, they'll start categorizing and then they'll provide a score of 1 to 100. And 1 is considered to be intolerable. Oh my goodness, something has to be done. And 100 is considered to be ideal one, the most comfortable one. Clear? And around the globe, which are the countries, forget about countries, which are the cities, in which countries, which cities are the top 5 livable cities? If you see again, your New Zealand is ranked number 1. See, we have discussed 3 indexes today, guys. In all the 3 indexes, you could see the keyword New Zealand popping up. That's why I told you, in almost all the indexes, because of lack of population, or let's say the less population over there, these countries are able to, do better with regard to indexes, I can say. Again, if you see Auckland, the city called as Auckland in New Zealand is considered to be the best, livable cities in the entire globe. Followed by Japan. In Japan, there's a place called as Osaka. Then you have Adelaide in Australia, Wellington in New Zealand, and again Tokyo in Japan, the capital. So these are the top 5 global livable cities, guys, as per the recent rankings. Clear? What about the least one? Thank God India is not there. You should be happy for that. We are always in the middle category. Be it for Human Development Index, be it for Ease of Doing Business Report, be it for Corruption Perception Index, or whatever index, we always maintain one particular thing, guys, the medium position. I do not know why Indians do that, but always we are in that category. And with regard to the Global Livability Index, also same thing. We are not in the top 5 or the top least 5. Rather, we are in the medium perspective. So talking about the least cities, if you see, Damascus, oh my goodness, in Syria, always conflicts, fight, this, sab kuch happens there. So Syria is considered to be in Syria, Damascus is the worst, or let's say the least livable cities. Followed by again in South Africa, Nigeria, okay, the city called as Lagos. Then in Papua New Guinea, you can find Port Moresby. In Bangladesh, even your Dhaka is considered to be the least livable city. So this could be a shocking thing to you because Dhaka is coming. Dhaka is quite popular. But if you see as per the Global Livability Index, they do not perform well. Followed by in Algeria, another city called as Algiers. Clear? In all these 5 least livable cities, Dhaka is one thing that shocks you, but that's a reality. It is not at all a good city to live in, I can say. With regard to facilities and amenities, they really rank the worst. Now, a little of additional information which you should know with regard to the Global Livability Index is the so-called pandemic. Don't you think so, guys? It has reduced the livability index? Indeed true. Because every single state across our country has put strict lockdowns, which means the city is also experiencing a lockdown and a lot of important strains on their healthcare system. And what is happening because of this? It is leading to an unexpected or let's say unprecedented level of change in the rankings. That's a great impact. Because some cities are at a benefit. If the ratio of the spread of virus is less, means no lockdown. Whereas some other cities, even though they're performing great, because of the so-called spread of this virus and the pandemic situation, they are being forced to put up strict lockdowns and other measures where the level of economic activities cannot perform like before. So that is making a huge impact in their ranking as well. Clear? That is, some cities which ranked very good previously, because of the so-called pandemic, they came down. So it's kind of fluctuating. Clear? Now, did you see this Auckland? I told you that they ranked number 1 with regard to the global livability index. There is a reason for that. As per the 2020 data, they had a very successful approach in reducing or containing the COVID-19 pandemic. That is one solid factor, guys, which actually made Auckland number 1 and topping the index. And also, they allowed their city to remain open. And they were not much strict lockdowns, I can tell you. And the city was, open to score strongly on a number of metrics, including environment, culture, education and all. That is one such reasons they rank number 1. The reason behind Auckland's, rank number 1 is this. You can just have a look into it. And why Damascus is the least livable city is because in Syria, the effects of civil war, come on, that is still continuing to take their toll. That so-called war is one such factor which is putting Damascus to be the least livable cities in the entire globe. Clear? Is it very clear, my young officers, all of you in the class? Perfect. Now, if you see, most of the previous 10 least livable cities remain in the bottom 10 this year. Which means previous year, the 10 least livable cities, now again, they are in the bottom 10 today. Including your Dhaka in Bangladesh, your Karachi in Pakistan, and also the APAC region, the Asia Pacific region. But though that is the case also, there is a strong contingent of cities in the so-called APAC region at the top of rankings like Osaka in Japan, Tokyo in Japan, Wellington in New Zealand, and Adelia and all. Clear? Because they are in the top 5. And recently, if you see in Taiwan, a city called as Taipei, then in Singapore and all, they performed very good, I can tell you, compared to previous years. That is, apart from New Zealand, Australia, Japan, other cities in the Asia Pacific region, they have done very well, and that includes Taiwan and Singapore. You can just make a note of it. So we are done with that, guys. Now moving on to the last index of the day, which talks about Global Innovation Index. So now that has been put forward by the World Intellectual Property Organization. That is your WIPO, guys. So what is the rank of a country, India? If you see in the year 2019, we were ranking 52. But today, come on, we have really improved. As per 2020 ranking, we are in the 48th position. And we are in the list of top 50 innovative countries. That's indeed a great improvement for us. Don't you think so? Yes, it is. We have been able to do great in the so-called innovation index. What about the global countries, guys? If you see, the top 5 global countries is Switzerland, followed by Sweden, 3rd is USA, 4th UK and 5th Netherlands. They rank number 1 to 5 with regard to global innovation index. And if you see with regard to the Asian economies, guys, with the group of lot of Asian economies advancing of the rankings, what is the meaning of this? They're indicating that chalo, these days, the development is focusing towards what? There is a gradual or a slow eastward shift in the locus of innovation, and that is underway. I repeat, eastward shift is happening. What about the progress in the so-called index with regard to India, guys? If you see, again in the Asian economies, countries like China and India, along with Philippines and Vietnam, we have made a lot of progress, I should say, no doubt in that, in the recent years. And with all the 4 now, we are among the top 50, no doubt in that. We are approximately the 48th country, guys, with regard to Global Innovation Index. That's a big kudos to our country, don't you think so? Indeed. And now, including along with India, if you see, China is also doing the best, which is again our neighbor, right? And the reason is because, see, India is one of the leading innovation achievers in the Central and Southern Asian region, no doubt in that. Because we have been able to show a lot of improvement. That too, not for 1 or 2 parameters, rather for 5 consecutive years. Continuously now, we have been able to show a lot of improvements, guys, with regard to innovation ranking. That is why we are able to be in the top 5, we have been able to be in the top 50 countries, I can say. Same thing is followed by China as well. But then China, again, the middle income economy, I can tell you, they are the only middle income economy which is among the top 30. See, we are in the top 50 because our rank is 48. But if you see China, they are in top 30. They are ahead of us. And today, you know what is the position today? They are 14, which is indeed tremendous, I can say. Every now and then, they keep on improving their rankings with regard to various parameters. So we have to follow somehow. I will not say that you should follow the path of China, but then start learning where they are holding. a great advantage, because with regard to India and China, the most common factor is with regard to population. In fact, I can tell you that China ranked number 1 for population, followed by India. But in spite of that, they are doing great in so many indexes, right? So you can just have a look into it. Yes, Ashish? Yes, Priya, China is sab kuch everywhere, no doubt in that. Now, let's quickly have a look into the few important highlights with regard to India, the India specific highlights. Now, with regard to our country, India, and the Global Innovation Index, we became the third most innovative, lower middle income economy in the world. Look at China, guys. They are the middle income country. They are not lower or higher. They are the only middle income country to come in the top, among the top 30, and now they are in the 14th place. Whereas India means we are in the lower middle income economy of the world. We are in the third most innovative positions. Clear? Just have a look into that point. And if you see in the top 15 position, I can tell you India ranks in top 15 in few indicators like ICT, information communication technology. Now you can connect this point with regard to what you know, your FDI, foreign direct investments. Over the years, especially in the past 5 years, we have been doing great with regard to FDI. And currently, if you see, as per May 2021 data, with an increase in FDI, guys, we could see the service sector, that is the tertiary sector, guys, of our economy, doing great with regard to the foreign investment. In that, software and IT, they receive the highest amount of investments with regard to what? FDI. So now we can even connect that point with the so-called Global Innovation Index as well. This is the way you have to start connecting the points. Clear? Along with that, the service export, government online service, the graduates in science and engineering, research and development intensive global companies. In all these areas, we were ranked in the top 15 places. Clear? And the three most pillars in which a country India improved was, one was institutions. We were in the 61st position. Then business sophistication, 55th, and creative output, 64th. Just for you to know. Is it very clear, all of you? Now, it's just because we are continuous or consistent, just like how consistent you are in your preparation. So similarly, just because our country India was consistent with regard to the improvement only, we could actually improve our ranking with regard to Global Innovation Index. I can tell you. You can attribute the credit to the public as well as the private resource organizations with regard to the immense knowledge capital, the vibrant startup ecosystem, and subcoach, because all these are contributing to the Global Innovation Index. And if you see, like your Global Innovation Index, there is another important index called as India Innovation Index. Who is releasing that? Is it your WPIO? Definitely no. The global is by WPIO, whereas the Indian version is by the independent think tank of India, that is Niti Aayog. And they have been widely accepted as one of the major steps in the direction of what? A kind of decentralization, that is starting from the grassroots level with regard to innovation across every single state of our country, India. So note this important point as well. Clear? So thus, the so-called Global Innovation Index, what do? They give you every single detailed information about the innovation performance of around 131 economies and countries around the world. No doubt in that. These are additional information, guys, for you to know, and they are based on 80 indicators. And they have a broad vision of innovation, which includes education, political environment, business perspective, and also infrastructure. You can just go through all those. So thus, it is your WIPO. Now, your World Intellectual Property Rights, it is not only by them. There is two more organizations associated. Your INSEAD, it's a university in Singapore, guys. A very good university, I should tell you. So now, along with them, and also Cornell University. So every year you can see the Global Innovation Index published by Cornell University, INSEAD, and WIPO. In that, WIPO is little important. That is why when I taught you initially this index, I told you WIPO. But it's a contribution of all the these three together. And what was the theme? The 2020 theme of Global Innovation Index was, who will finance innovation? A very good question, right? Because financing of fund is again very important. So who will finance that? Absolutely a brilliant theme it was, I should say. And thus, the so-called 2020 Global Innovation Index, what do they show us? It is showing or putting or throwing light on the state of innovation financing by investigating all the, based on the evolution of existing mechanism, what you can do to improve them. What are the new innovations or methods that you should bring in to improve the technology, to improve our country India with regard to various dimensions. This is what basically the 2020 GII is focusing on, this particular index. So that's all, my young officers. We are done for the day. I hope it is crystal clear for all of you. Thank you so much. So don't forget to like, share, and do drop your valuable feedbacks in the comment box. So that's enough, guys. With regard to these these 4 indexes, these many keywords are perfectly fine. Revolving this only, questions will definitely come for your examinations. Clear? Nothing more will come apart from this. So make a point that you are revising all these notes, and whatever doubts and queries you have, feel free to get in touch with me. Clear? Via Telegram as well as Unacademy. And the link of my Unacademy profile and also the Telegram is also the special class is given below the description box. And be it free or be it plus class, to join both, the code is Nisha IAS Live. It will give you a lot of discount, plus you come under the personal mentoring program. So I'll see you all on Thursday at the same time, 9:30 p.m. with part 2 of the important reports and indexes. Clear? So yes, did you all enjoy the class, all of you? Yes, Akash, Priya, Manda. Perfect. So thank you guys, and see you tomorrow for the 7 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. Fundamentals of Economy class in the same YouTube channel, and also 8 p.m. to 8:10 p.m. for the Basics of Economy, another booster series. Clear? Thank you and Jai Hind.